Dragi prijatelji.
A message from the future. There's a lot of historical footage, a lot of historical photograph imagery. And then you have all these war survivors recounting and retelling their experiences during this war. One of the major themes that stood out to me in this documentary was through the great evils occurring at this time, much good was found. And it seems like most of these survivors found their purpose because they were fulfilling some sort of crucial need during the time, whether it was being a doctor, for example. That one that really stood out to me is how he kind of was a doctoral student. There was a need for a doctor. He learned on the job as he went and found his purpose and in helping people in need. There's this great sense of pride in that, and I feel like a lot of them, even though they have their thoughts about the war in a not so positive light, they also have this idea of finding themselves through this turmoil and helping their community through this turmoil. And then you see a great amount of pride in that fact, in those memories.
A Message from the Future is definitely a very somber but also hopeful documentary. Um, it very much tells the experiences of those who've suffered from the experiences, the harsh and horrific realities of war. It's basically a message to those going through it, for the timely sake in this situation, Ukraine, but also it's a message for those who are, and have gone, will go, or are going through it, to essentially say, we've been there, it's going to get better. That's a very hopeful and optimistic message, and I definitely think it's a message that needs to be said because a lot of people very much are suffering right now, and the one thing that is hard to hold on to is that hope.
A Message from the Future was discussing the very difficult, dark subject that is war and conflict. And we get to hear the personal firsthand stories of people who not only lived through it, but we're part of it in so many different ways. And it was hard to hear, but what I thought that this piece did so well was it really brought out like the beauty. And there were so many wonderful sound bites of, the evil that I experienced, the evil that I saw around me made me the best version that I am. It helped me become good. And it like makes me emotional thinking about it. I think that there has always been darkness in our world since humans, roamed, started on this earth. And it seems so archaic that we have it even to this day. But there's always that little spark of flame, that little hope for humanity. And I think that, in the face of utter darkness and total evil and chaos, that is when we as humans show our best selves. And that is where we show up for each other in these humble and beautiful and impactful ways. So it just shows that, like, out of the concrete can grow a rose, and I just really appreciated getting to hear these stories, and also I really enjoyed how the stories were presented, with each person standing in front of their portrait and the sit-down interviews. I just thought it was really well crafted, well told, and a beautiful and heartbreaking piece. Great job.
A Message from the Future. This film was so well done, and how the filmmakers told the story they made it so powerful and very artfully done. I loved what they did in going from color to black and white and using old photographs. All of this really helped keep the pace of this film moving at a consistent rate. And I loved it. I loved the interviews. The message of the film, it was hard to hear at times because it was truthful and the truth hurts. But even those moments where it was hard to hear, then all of a sudden, one of the survivors would say something that was absolutely beautiful. And it would just squeeze your heart. Yeah, they did a fantastic job with this. Congratulations on it. I loved it.
I loved everything about this documentary. I loved how it started out with a letter written to the Ukraine from people who've already survived a war in Bosnia. I loved going from the black and white to the colored interviews by putting the people who they are now next to their original photographs. I found that a very unique method of storytelling, and it was an easy transition into their personal stories as they worked and went back in time to it. The use of stock footage and their old photographs from the war really made an impact to the story as they told their own personal stories. This is something that is very impactful. It's something that I think the world needs today, as I've never understood why feuding governments think they should take it out on their people. I've never understood why you persecute people for their religion. It's just bizarre, but this shows that there is a very humanistic side that we can relate to, even if we don't know the language, even if there are people who are currently going through the same thing, and you can relate to it, and tell them that there is a future. There might be people missing in it, but there is a future, and you can overcome, and that's a very positive message to give people who are right now going through something, the similar horrors as the people in this documentary did.